Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lance Christian. I'm the Executive Director of the ALS Association, Oregon and Southwest Washington chapter. I'm thrilled and honored to have all of you here today to hear an exciting program about ALS research, as well as how we and all of you in this room contribute to making a difference towards finding new treatments and hopefully understanding the cause of ALS. As a member of the chapter staff, I often have a point where I'm in the public like this. I'm the face of the association, but what I'm aware of is every day the work we do going into people's homes, meeting people with ALS, finding donors and supporting people to commit to the research mission and supports for families living with ALS. It's really a whole community at work. It's you, it's your supporters, it's the efforts that you make as donors, as participants in the Walk to Defeat ALS. We're all in this together, and it's all of us pulling in the same direction that has made a difference. We're in exciting times right now for ALS research, where greater understanding of the disease and the mechanisms within the disease are leading to potential new therapies with treating ALS. Just this summer, we certainly had the first new FDA approval of a new treatment for ALS, Radicava, and a new approach from the FDA to move things more quickly through the process so people can have access. Our hope is always that you have an open channel to access new treatments and therapies, but we also want to work to find new treatments, new options, new perspectives for finding ways to treat ALS so that there are as many options and finding the most effective treatments possible. All of this happens because of the hard work of people in this room, the Walk to Defeat ALS, but also a great group of committed volunteers. So first, even just to make today possible, I want to thank some of our volunteers, Lauren Niemer and Dawn, who greeted you guys at the door. So let's thank them for volunteering today. We have several of our board members here today, Dr. Lou Libby and Barb Deeming, members of our board of directors, who give of their time every month and every quarter for making a difference with ALS. So thank you guys for being here today. And then I want to also give a shout out to our staff members who are here today, our Assistive Technology Coordinator, Amanda Mason, our Communications Coordinator, Todd McAllister, and our Care Services Director, Cassie Adams. So thank you guys so much for all your hard work. So as I look around this room today, I see people living with ALS and learning and connecting with one another to share resources and ideas for the best possible life with ALS. But all of our hopes and our dreams really focus on finding treatments and a cure for this disease. And as you will hear today from our distinguished group of presenters, that there are many avenues that need to be explored for understanding this disease and developing a potential treatments. A little housekeeping for today. There are restrooms out the doorway and down the hallway to the left. There are family restrooms for anyone who needs more privacy or assistance. And in the back corner of the atrium, there is an elevator that will take you downstairs, and there are two large-size accessible family bathrooms if anyone needs them. Our run of show today, we're very excited, and I know hello to everyone out there on Facebook, because this is our first event where we are live streaming on Facebook. So we know there are people who are watching right now from the coast and Southern Oregon and Central Oregon. So, and who knows where people have logged in from. But thank all of you online for joining us as well. Since we are doing a live streaming event, we are going to have all of our presenters go straight through today. And we'll have time for questions after each presenter, a few questions, but then a chance to have a panel at the end. In terms of housekeeping for the room today, if you have a need to step out or to leave, do not hesitate. If you want to get more refreshments or refresh a drink, please stand up and do that. Know that we're all in this room together, and it's okay to take care of your own personal needs. So just wanted to mention that little housekeeping moment. But as we get started today, I want to share a little bit about, we have people who've traveled here from Atlanta, from New Jersey, and Corvallis to present to us. So I think the drive from Corvallis might have been more challenging, but it's a football game day here in Oregon. So our first presenter is Jill Yersak with the ALS Association. She is the Director of Communications, Research Communications for the ALS Association. She comes into this position from PhD work in basic science research, in which she also helped explore an animal model of ALS. She can share a little bit more about that, of her own clinical work. But she joined our association to really take some of this scientific knowledge that you see in journals that are written for peer review and turn them into English language so all of us on a peer-to-peer basis can understand. So our first presenter today is Jill Yersak, and please join me in welcoming her.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I've never been to Oregon, so this is the first, and thank you, Lance, for inviting me, and hope to come back with my family and my kids to really have time to explore. Unfortunately, I have to go back tonight. But today, I'm here to talk to you about our ALS Association research program and what makes it unique, and then I'm going to give you some examples of some exciting research that's happening here in your area and all over the world. And before I get started, I just want you to get to know me just a tiny bit better. Like Lance said, I did a PhD in basic research in another neurodegenerative disease. Then I did my postdoc at Brown, and I made animal models of ALS. They're called C. elegans. They're actually a worm model. So they're not like a worm you see in, like an earthworm in the ground. It wasn't gross. It was really a type of worm that you can only see. They're microscopic. They can only see under a microscope. So I made them sick with ALS. So that's something I've did in the past, and while I was in Rhode Island at Brown, I did some volunteer work with the ALS Association. And from there, I really was able to move really nicely into this position. And I've been happy to be here since almost 2 years. So with that, let's get started. So what I'd like to say about the ALS Association's research program is that the world is our lab. We don't fund just one lab. We fund labs all over the globe, literally. Right now, we fund 126 labs in 8 countries, and those numbers are constantly changing depending on the time of year and when grants start and end. So we are the largest nonprofit funder of ALS research in the United States. The only people that fund more ALS research than us are the NIH, and that's the federal government. So we're really proud of that, and we're really proud of all the scientists that we're able to fund all over the world. One thing I'll keep going back to is that we really prioritize and value collaboration. And we really try to fuel that global collaboration between academic labs, industry partners, other nonprofit organizations, and also government like the CDC to really expedite the discovery for treatments and a cure. Because everything that we do at the ALS Association is to really find those treatments and a cure. So this is what I'm going over today, and that makes us unique. So first is that we fund research projects all over the world, not just basic research, but also clinical. We work with top ALS experts to shape our global research program. We work and collaborate with partners across all sectors, and we maximize donor investments. And then we also, and this is something that I like to talk about, is that we really like to attract those bright young scientists to not only join the ALS field, but to stay. And we also support groundbreaking research discoveries, which I'll give you some examples. I don't have a lot of time today, so I'm just going to only pick a few. So, at the ALS Association, we fund research across a whole research pipeline. That's from harnessing innovative ideas, which are really understanding what's going wrong in those cells. Those are the basic questions they're trying to answer. So when you see someone on TV in the lab, that's what they're in the lab trying to figure out what's wrong. And then to really find those therapeutic targets. And then we also fund translational research, or translating concepts of therapies to then, once we know what's wrong, how do we fix it? How do we make those cells better, those motor neurons better? And that then parlays into drug development and biomarker discovery. And biomarkers I'll talk about a little bit further along in my talk, but as a precursor, it's really just a way to understand whether a drug is hitting its target and it's doing what it's designed to do. We also work in advancing treatments to patients, and it's exactly what you think it is. It's clinical trials. We do fund clinical trials up to phase 2. And lastly, and I think most importantly, is we fund championing patient care through research. And that's research projects that are really designed to help people living with ALS more immediately. And that's through things like assistive technology and really improving patient and caregiver care. And if you want to break it down even further, these are some 13 scientific focus areas that we work on. And I'm listing them here. I'm not going to say them all, but we really try to take this really global approach to ALS and really try to touch every different thing that could be contributing to that treatment or a cure. And so these are some examples. And we're always looking to expand these focus areas. So I always get a lot of questions about our global research program. And our research department, which is Dr. Lucy Bruin, our chief scientist, and our chief of strategy, Colleen Balas, work together along with top ALS experts in the world to really shape our global research program. So it's not just Lucy and Colleen sitting in a room deciding what to fund. It's a huge group of researchers that really come together and try to understand and read through a huge stack of papers and grant applications and then fund only the most promising projects that we can with our research budget. And I'm not going to go through all these, but I just want to show you, these are right now lists of our research portfolio, our grant portfolio, and we fund things from our postdoctoral fellows, so early in someone's career, all the way to something like the Shield Essay Award, which is an award that's really funding well-known, like almost Nobel Prize laureate level research, ALS research. So this is the gamut of things that we're working on now. And since the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, there has been an increase in funding, in applications to our research program, and which has been great because then we've been able, since the Ice Bucket Challenge, our budget has been increased and we're able to fund even more. So we inspire partnerships across all sectors, and again, I come back to that collaboration piece. It's really the cornerstone of our research program. And this is just some examples of some of the research programs that we fund. Excuse me, the partners that we have. And I couldn't fit them all in one slide, but you can see here that these are some of our partners. And you can see that we work with other nonprofit organizations, government like the FDA, the CDC, pharmaceutical companies like Ionis Pharmaceuticals, and other nonprofit organizations like ALS Untangled, ALS TDI, and ALS Finding a Cure, among really many others. So next, one of the things that we really try to focus on and makes us really powerful, I think, is that we truly try to maximize those donor investments. It's not just the investments that we get or the donations we got from the Ice Bucket Challenge, but our development departments across the country are really working hard to maximize those donor investments with matching gifts and to really try to figure out what are the best projects that would have the most impact on ALS research. And one of my favorite examples of this and exciting projects that we were able to fund early on is called Antisense therapy. And so this is kind of a Greek concept and a little complicated. So I want to take some time today to really let you understand and help you understand what it is. And we were able to fund this research back in 2004 with a group at University of California, San Diego, and Ionis Pharmaceuticals, really back when the idea was really risky and we had no idea it was going to work. So before I get into my punchline about maximizing donor investments, I really want to have a teaching moment and try to teach you what Antisense Technology is. And I'm going to do this in two ways. I'm going to do it in a way that's scientific because I am a scientist by background, and so I have to do that first. And then I'm going to do it in a more fun way with an analogy, and hopefully by the end you'll understand what it is, and then you can tell all your friends. Okay, so the point of antisense drugs are really to prevent the production of proteins involved in disease with the aim to slow or stop progression. So this is my scary science chart. Don't get scared, okay? So under normal conditions, you have DNA, which is really your code, your DNA code, which is your genetic code. And that's transcribed, which is a fancy way of being made into messenger RNA. And your messenger RNA is really your instruction book to making protein. So then that's translated again. It's another way of saying you're made into protein. So and I'm giving SOD1 as an example, because SOD1 is the second most common genetic cause of ALS. And so when you have an antisense drug, it comes in and specifically binds to the bad SOD1 protein and to the bad SOD1 messenger RNA and throws it out into the trash. It's gone. And that prevents the protein from being made in the first place. So again, it binds to the messenger RNA and then it's gone. It throws it out and gets degraded into the cell. So then since the no SOD protein is made, then it can't cause issues in the cell, the toxicity that you see. All right, so let's have a little bit more fun. So Antisense Technology is also like baking blueberry muffins, and I gave this example because I like to bake. So when you bake, you have your ingredients, your dry ingredients, like your sugar and your flour and your salt, and then you add your blueberries and your butter, and you mix all together. And as you're mixing, and this is a true story, when I was a kid, I was mixing my blueberry muffins, and I realized instead of putting a half a teaspoon of salt, I put in a half a cup. Yeah, it was bad. It's not something, and I still became a scientist and can follow protocols, right? So what do you think happened when I did that? I know it's a big audience, so I can't really take, exactly, it gets thrown away into my fancy trash can and preventing the blueberry muffins from being made in the first place. So same kind of thing. So it's like antisense technology. You add your antisense drugs and prevents your bad SOD1 protein from being made in the first place. And then your cells can go about their business and hopefully thrive and not have toxicity happen to them. So does that make sense? You learned something today? It's my teaching moment. Okay, so now the impact of antisense technology. So we invested in this technology back in 2004, like I say, with about $1.5 million. And since then, it's converted to over $100 million. It's not just because it's now in clinical trial for SOD1 in partnership with Ionis Pharmaceuticals and Biogen, but also the C9orf antisense drug is about to enter clinical trials. And I don't want to say maybe not the end of 2017, but relatively soon that we'll see that drug hit clinical trials. And it's also in preclinical screening for other diseases like Alzheimer's, Huntington's, and myotonic dystrophy. But one of the best things one of the best things I heard last December, other than that it's the holidays coming up, is that we found out that the FDA approved the first antisense drug to treat spinal muscular atrophy back in December. It's called Spinraza, and SMA, or spinal muscular atrophy, is a devastating childhood disease that affects infants and toddlers. So essentially when these children were on the drug, the kids, the doctors could see who was on the drug versus the placebo, because the children who were on the drug started to move again. They went from not moving to moving. So they moved very quickly and got the drug approved by the FDA, and now it's starting to come onto market. So my point is, I don't see why something like this couldn't work for ALS if it's already worked for SMA. So we have a lot of hope behind this, and we'll keep the community updated as we get more information about the trials, and we're hoping to get more information soon, especially out of the SOD1 trial. So one other aspect I want to switch over to is that we really try to attract bright young scientists to the ALS field, and we do that through our Milton Safenowitz postdoctoral fellowship program, and that's through our Greater New York chapter. And it really is there to not only attract ALS researchers to an ALS lab, because when you're a student, you have a choice. You have a choice to pick. You want to work on Parkinson's, you want to work on cancer, you want to work on ALS, and there's a huge choice you have to make. And we wanted the brightest to come to us, come to ALS and work for us. And because they come in with their fresh ideas and they talk to their boss and say, look, this great idea. And sometimes, and more than not, a lot of these ideas really come to fruition. It's really exciting to watch. So every year, these are some pictures of our postdoctoral fellows. We come together every other year in New York. You can see how they're working together and they really concentrate and really smart. And we're really proud of them because 90% of our postdoctorals stay in ALS research, which is that's a high number because it's very, very hard as a postdoctoral fellow to then continue to have your own lab. So the cycle then continues, they have their own lab, and then they mentor their own ALS students that then continue into ALS research. And these are some of a clinician scientists that we awarded this year through our partnership with the American Academy of Neurology. So they're physicians who also do ALS research. So this is Dr. Sabrina Paganoni from Mass General Hospital and Nick Olney from UCSF. So now I just want to end really more with some exciting research that's really come out pretty recently of some of the research that we have funded throughout the world. And so Dr. Beckman's here today, so I'm not going to steal his thunder, but we have supported him through really chapter funding, donations that's coming out of the Oregon chapter. We're really excited about that and really proud of that. And you should be proud of that to be able to fund this exciting project. So I'm not going to say anything else other than that because Dr. Beckman, I don't want to take away anything from you. So wait and see what he has to say. But some of the things I thought you might be interested in hearing is some of the research that we're working on to really help patients more immediately with ALS. And we were able to work with Prize for Life, which is another nonprofit organization that works on ALS, to really fund this exciting challenge called the ALS Assistive Technology Challenge. And the goal of this challenge was to really bring together engineers and scientists and technology experts to really develop the flexible, accessible technology to really help people with ALS communicate with ease, because there's obviously lots of challenges, communication challenges. So we came together after a year in the making of this challenge last year in Dublin at our ALS MND international meeting. And we had 5 finalist teams come together, and to the top right, that's in red is our chief scientist, Lucy, and our esteemed judges. And they came together to really, it was like a speed dating or a Shark Tank for ALS. They literally had 10 minutes to talk about their project and then give a business plan and say, this is why you should fund me. And it was a really exciting day, and I was really happy to be part of it. So after a lot of deliberation and a day that really was a way that even if you didn't win, you won because everyone came away with new collaborations and new friendships to really help hopefully work together to continue the research and their technology ideas. So we actually had 2 winners because they were so good. And this is the first winner. This is Dexter Ang and David Cipolletta. They're from Python Technology. And they're out of MIT in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And Dexter developed a thing called EMG, or electromyography communication and control sensor device. And just some background about Dexter, his mother passed from ALS. When she was sick, he was not happy with the treatment, well, not the treatment, but really the availability of communication devices to help his mother because she wasn't able to speak and communicate well. And it upset him. And he is a go-getter, and he was working in finance, and he said, you know what, I'm quitting finance, I'm moving, and I'm going to figure this out. And he literally moved and started this company called Python Technology and brought on David Cipolletta, who is on the right. And David was an underwater robotics engineer. So you can imagine how smart he is. And they came together and really developed this technology. And what it is, it's like a little sticker that you put on your skin, and it senses the very most tiniest amounts of muscle movement. And so these stickers are put on different parts of your body, and those signals, those very slight muscle movements are then translated to help you type on a computer to be able to talk through your muscle movements. And eventually what they want to do is connect it to help moving wheelchair and other devices in the home. So this is a really exciting project. They're bright. They're really enthusiastic, and we've enjoyed working with them, and so we're excited to see more coming out of this, out of Python Technology from Dexter and David, and I'll definitely keep you updated with that in the future. And our first prize, we thought that was good. Our first prize winner was actually, this is Donder's Institute, Dr. Peter Stein. He's from the Netherlands, and he developed, and his team developed, noise tag brain-computer interface. And that's kind of, brain-computer interface sounds really daunting, but what it essentially does, what you think it does, it connects your brain to a computer, bypassing your muscles. Because in ALS, your muscles atrophy and you can't move based on damage due to your motor neurons. So it really bypasses all of that and helps take your brain waves and really translates it onto their computer. So they're able to talk through brain waves. It's kind of like science fiction. And so right now, the technology for brain-computer interface is a cap, and what they're doing is developing a headband. So it's like you're working out. You have a headband on. It's not like this cumbersome cap that has to be calibrated, and it's hard to hook up. This is actually plug and play, no calibration needed. So this is a really cool device that is, again, designed to help people talk through the computer, and also to help maybe even put on to control things in your home, like your lights or a doorknob, and help things move in your home. So this is also under development, and they're recently working together to with Evie Reviers from ALS Liga in Belgium. That's our counterpart in Belgium, to really help patients are coming in and helping them really optimize their technology. It's really exciting. So now, moving on, we really have seen a huge movement in biomarker discovery being accelerated. And biomarkers are really important in that, especially to convince pharmaceutical companies to jump on board and to really want to be involved and invest in ALS research, in ALS drugs. And so a biomarker is really any measurable substance that changes in quantity, appears or disappears with a change in body state. And if you think about it in nature, it's kind of like in the fall, the leaves change color and then they fall off. That's it's a biomarker in nature. And in the body, a biomarker can be a chemical change in the blood, urine, or cerebral spinal fluid. It could even be a structural change or a chemical change in your brain that can be seen by imaging. So these biomarkers are desperately needed not only to really help motivate pharmaceutical companies to work with ALS drugs, but we're really needed to improve diagnosis, follow disease progression, and really track response to therapy in clinical trials. So we'll know earlier than later whether a drug is hitting its target and it's doing what it's designed to do. And if it doesn't, then we know earlier, we don't waste money, we can move on to the next thing. So this is a really important field that we've heavily invested in. And I don't have a lot of time, so I want to give you one example of a biomarker that we've invested in that's really exciting. So this is Dr. Bowser. He's president of Ironhorse Diagnostics. And he's really worked on an ALS diagnostic test that measures key proteins in the blood and cerebral spinal fluid that are only elevated in people with ALS. And it has really high accuracy, and instead of waiting months, and right now diagnosis could take up for almost over a year or more, you could potentially have results back in a week. So this is something that's coming out hopefully soon, and it's exciting, and I think a really game changer in the ALS field to see these biomarkers, diagnostic biomarkers, come into market. And hopefully then, once you have a quicker diagnosis, then you can get treatment quicker, and it's a win-win for everyone that way. We also fund ALS clinical trials, and as Lance said, Radicava just got approved as the first FDA drug approved in 22 years, which is really exciting. We did not fund that trial, but we had the ALS Association worked, since it's a Japanese drug, we worked behind the scenes with the FDA to really speed the approval for Radicava along. So we could hopefully see that come to. It actually got approved very quickly versus most drugs, and we like to say that we helped that along a little bit, at least a little bit, because the FDA you're not sure with the FDA. So we do fund interventional clinical trials. Right now, this is our current list. But right now, there's about 50 or 55 ALS clinical trials right now, and the ones in green are clinical trials that are actually going on in your area. And I highlighted Radicava up top. So I just wanted to give you some tools really to help you search for clinical trials in your area. So on our website, I know it's a barrier for people with ALS to really understand where to find clinical trials, and there's always a lot of questions surrounding that. So we've really wanted to make this easier for you. So under our website, if you go to alsa.org/research, you click on the clinical trials tab, and it takes you to here. And you can search by state. So here's an example. You can search by Oregon. You can say its status. So you'd search active trial currently recruiting, and it would then take you to the NEAL site, and which then would give you a ton of information about the clinical trial. And we partner with NEALS, which is the Northeast ALS Consortium. They've been a great partner for many, many years. And they have a wonderful, and I think very, very accurate, up-to-date clinical trial database that's really easy to understand. And they actually just redid their website, so it's even better source of information, more easy, user accessible. And if you still have a question and you haven't found what you want, and you have any question at all, you can always reach out to us. But we also encourage you to reach out to our, we like to call her our clinical trials concierge. Her name's Carly Doyle. She is our NEALS communication and outreach coordinator. And you can call her and email her anytime about any clinical trial question. And she's phenomenal, and she's a really big help to answer any of your questions. So use her as a resource. It's something that we're really proud of working together on this. On the clinical trial front, just to help people get the information they need. So these are just a list of clinical trials that are actively enrolling in your area. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail of this, but we have 2 interventional trials, meaning you're testing a drug. It's a cytokinetics trial, which is the tirasemtiv trial. It's a phase 3 trial that has just is really coming to an end. So if you were on this trial, it's a way to continue an open label study and continue on this drug after the phase 3 trial has ended. So that's going on here. Also, the Amylyx trial, that's a drug it's called the MX0035 drug, and that is a mitochondrial drug that they're working on that we fund, that is happening and enrolling in Oregon Health and Science University in Portland, here in Portland. And there's one other observational trial that means it doesn't test a drug. This happens to be a biomarker study, so it's in a way for people with ALS to contribute to biomarker research and to find the next great biomarker, and that's the cross-sectional ALS biofluid biomarker CAP study. And I'm happy to answer questions about that later. So these are our successes. This is what I went over today. I'm not going to read the list again, but we're really proud of our program and that we're far-reaching, we're innovative, we're really collaborative with people all over in every sector, and that makes us really powerful. And we really want to fund the next best thing and really move those things, those great ideas from the bench to clinical trials and to new treatments and a cure. And so these are some impact points that I just want to quickly share. We had a $19 million research budget last year that funded 180 projects in 11 countries. Several new genetic discoveries were supported. 2 new global partnerships were forged, ALS1 and Neuralinks. We funded 6 new young scientists, 2 clinician scientists. We were able to complete the challenge programs, the Assistive Technology Challenge, the TDP 43 Grand Biomarker Challenge, which I can answer questions about later, but I didn't have time to talk to you today. And 2 new antisense drugs are in the pipeline, or hopefully about to be in the pipeline soon. So for more information, this is where I would love you to go. We have a research website, it has a lot of great information. We have our blog, and we also have a social media account. So follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and you can always contact me. So this is my contact information. I'm always happy to answer any questions. I'm a nice person. I'll answer the phone. I'll answer emails. So please always feel free to contact the association with any questions you have. So with that, I'm going to stop, and we'll bring up Paul, I guess, and we'll take questions at the end. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Thank you so much.